came with a dream to LA from Long Island with just $300 in his pocket. His beloved father giving him just 2 weeks to make it. And that he did. Steve Guttenberg would go on to star in countless classics.
Let the man speak.
Diner, Cocoon, the Police Academy franchise, and so many more, to huge success and acclaim. But after a 40-year stellar career, he stepped away from Hollywood to care for his ailing father. He writes about it in intimate detail in his latest book, Time to Thank, where Guttenberg shares the final years of his dad's life. The gift of caregiving and the legacy of a father and son bond that never dies. Actor, author, caregiver, Steve Guttenberg. He is today's LA Story. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of LA Stories. I'm Giselle Fernandez, and we are here with iconic actor of so many great films, Steve Guttenberg, who's also a best-selling author. He's written this beautiful book called Time to Thank, where he chronicles just this beloved relationship he had with the man he calls his hero, and really shares the power, the grace of caregiving to aging parents. It is so great to have you here.
I'm so nice to be here, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
There's not a parent or child who won't be deeply moved by your intimate sharing about caring for your pop. Did it help in the grieving process?
Well, no, I don't think so. I was really hurt when my dad passed. And he passed in my arms and my sister's arms. And it was very, very difficult for me to accept it, even at that moment. I was yelling at him, "Come back, Dad, come back." It was very hard for me to accept that he was gone.
I was really moved by the powerful influence that Stanley Jerome Guttenberg was in your life, inspiring so much of your career, always being a very big support. Talk to me about who he was and who he is today in your life.
My dad is with me every day. I talk to him, I hear his voice all the time. He grew up in Brooklyn, New York, became a weightlifter, one of the first Jewish Army Rangers, airborne Army Rangers.
Korean War?
Korean War. He went to Fort Bragg, came out and became a New York City policeman.
Oh my gosh.
Loved the job, loved it.
Then he owned his own company?
Electronics, and he was one of the first guys in on semiconductors. Always positive, always trying to make the best of things, always saying, you must win. You must win. And if you don't, it's okay. But you must go in saying, I want to win. When I did something wrong, he would bring me upstairs, sit me on the bed, sit there for a minute and say, Stephen, what's wrong with you? And I'd say, I don't know. He'd say, okay, don't do that again. And that was it.
He didn't castigate you or put you down and make you feel guilty about who you were.
He said how great I was. He said, when you walk into the room, feel good about yourself and be yourself. You don't have to be anybody else. And you can do it. You can do anything. He said the sky's the limit, and it's a high sky out there.
You were born in Brooklyn, grew up in Massapequa, Long Island. Humble beginnings?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had a nice house, and we lived in a nice neighborhood, but we were far from privileged. We were working people. My mom and dad were both working, and they both taught us everything we needed to know in this world, everything I learned at my parents' kitchen table, everything. So I've met presidents of the United States and captains of industry and all kinds of people in this world, movie stars and producers and all kinds of studio executives. My dad and my mom had said, everybody sits at the kitchen table. Everybody.
Everybody is equal. In high school, they called you sensitive and shy. Yeah. You did appear in high school productions, I read, but you said you were never the star and you considered becoming a dentist. Is that true?
It's true.
It is?
It's true, absolutely. I was always sort of a quiet guy.
No, but I heard you became a really cool kid. When you got into 10th grade, you started to get muscles. Your dad was training you. And
in the basement.
And all of a sudden you became a cool kid with a cool crowd.
Well, that's the currency in high school, muscles.
Muscles.
That's the currency.
It's the currency. But you said, despite the fact that you were all of a sudden this popular guy, that you felt like a Volvo inside a Chevy Camaro?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Well, I had this body that was good looking.
I saw it in Cocoon. Very nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But I showed photos. But
don't worry.
Thank you. But I always felt like a regular guy, and the way I describe my dad is my dad was an extraordinary man in a regular life. I'm a regular guy in an extraordinary life.
Oh, what an interesting
And I've always felt very, very at home with regular stuff. with middle-class stuff. Even when I go to a fancy restaurant, I look at the server and I go like, I'm you, by the way. You don't have to like deal with me.
Well, and I think that's what made you so incredibly resonate with the films and TV shows that you did, because we saw the everyday guy in you that also became a very big star. So your dad gives you, and mom gives you $300. You come out here, you spend it immediately on these headshots.
Yeah.
And you somehow commissioned these mobsters to they sounded like mobsters.
Yeah, they were gangsters. They were these two gangsters in this big Cadillac. They picked me up on the street and they said, you're the guy, I was supposed to wait at a corner. They pulled me, we went into a McDonald's.
It's like a drug deal.
Yeah, I got in the back of the seat and I gave him the money and he's like, don't flash the money. Took the photos and then he said, we'll call you in a couple weeks, we'll have the photos. I called my parents and I told them, they said, you gave all your money away?
They thought you were scammed.
Yeah, exactly. But I wasn't. Thank God I got those headshots. And within 2 weeks, I got a Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial.
Which was really not only lucky, but you also weaseled your way into Paramount Studios and you somehow set up an office there. You had chutzpah.
Yeah, it's all about chutzpah. I mean, that's what life is about believing in yourself. My dad always say, believe in yourself, you can do anything in the world. So what I did was I found an empty office in the Lucille Ball makeup building and I started making phone calls. That
is hilarious. Well, you started getting TV roles and some small roles in films, but it wasn't coming fast enough. There was all kinds of rejections in the early days as a struggling actor.
Yeah.
You're too short, you're not big enough, you're not Jewish enough.
It's part of the game and it was tough and the culture was so hard and I couldn't really deal with it. I was here for a year and I quit.
Yeah, you said you had to have rhinoceros skin.
You do.
And you never got that.
Well, I've always had rhinoceros skin, but I didn't like the darts that were hitting it.
Right. So you go back home, and I guess to go back to school, you were thinking to go back to school in Albany, and then you got that call that changed everything, Boys from Brazil.
Yeah, I got a call from my agent, and they said, there's a audition in New York. I said, I don't want to be an actor anymore.
You really didn't?
Oh, I didn't want to be an actor, no way. But when I got this audition, my dad said, go down there. If you get it, you can always turn it down. So they sent me a car and
Your dad was always right there encouraging you.
Really, my dad was always there for me. I got the job. And while I was over there, I got another offer and another offer and another offer. And I couldn't resist the fruit. So I came back and I have been a professional actor for 47 years.
You would go on to make as many as 20 films in the 80s, more than any other actor in SAG. Box office grosses of more than $100 million. They included, of course, Boys from Brazil, but also the iconic Diner. Now, that has gone on to be one of the cultural, must-see movies of all time. Did you know at the time it was going to be that?
I had a feeling. I thought Paul Reiser and Kevin Bacon and Tim Daly, Mickey Rourke and Danny Stern, Ellen Barkin, all these people were really great.
Have you stayed in touch with all of them?
Yeah, we actually, once a year or something, we all got together.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty
a
great.
Cultural classic. You went on to do one of my favorite films, which is Cocoon. Short Circuit, Bedroom Window, the hugely successful 3 Men and a Baby, Roe vs. Wade, and then the Police Academy franchise, of which you owned a piece of, which was a game changer. Can you believe you made it in the way that you have?
Oh, every day I can't believe it. I cannot believe I bought this with acting and that I made a living as an actor. Can you imagine? I mean, the chances of being an artist and making a living, it's just 1 in a zillion. It's impossible.
Was your dad just over the moon?
Oh, he couldn't believe it. I mean, the first year, even the money was insane and he just couldn't believe it.
It must have just been huge to have your dad watch your career rise like this.
The best part about being famous is sharing it with people you love. It's the best part. It's no fun being on a yacht alone. My dad loved movie sets with the craft service tables and all kinds of stuff.
And he loved you, and to see his boy, just make it like this, it must have just been such nachas, we like.
Nachas, exactly. And actually, my dad would always say, anytime you want, you can quit and come home. And he said, you don't have to be a star for me to love you.
Right.
I love you no matter what you do. If you work at a hardware store, if you sweep the streets, I will love you. That love, first of all, love is the most powerful force on earth. Most powerful force. And if you have love, you can do anything. My dad was really trying to teach me that. Don't worry about being the richest or the tallest or the best looking or the funniest. Just show up. My dad had a great one. You can love someone, or you can love someone and show up. I love you, man. I love you. I love you. Yeah. Hey, do you mind coming and help me? I can't make it. Hey, I love you, I love you. You mind helping me? Yeah, what do you need? That's love. So my dad would say, you just have to show up.
Just be there.
Got me by talking about my dad. I don't like to cry. I don't cry often, but for some reason it overwhelmed me. I just really miss him a lot.
I can feel that. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, Steve Guttenberg leaves his career in Hollywood to care for the man he called his hero when he was ailing from kidney disease. When LA Stories comes right back. Welcome back to LA Stories, everyone. We're here with actor and author Steve Guttenberg, who's written this beautiful book, Time to Thank, all about caregiving for his beloved dad, Stanley Jerome Guttenberg. When I say his name to you today, what does that invoke in you?
Love, love, admiration, awesomeness, care. I think about him when he was young and strong, and he was helping me put my pajamas on and taught me how to shave and taught me how to drive. And then when he got ill, I put his pajamas on and I shaved him and I drove him places.
Your father lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and he was diagnosed with kidney disease in 2018, and he needed dialysis. You were living here in LA, and you made this decision to get up at 2:30 every morning to make the 400-mile drive to the desert, which is astounding, because you said, if my dad has dialysis, we all have dialysis. You, your sisters, went to be with him.
My dad needed me, and I was there. My dad would always say, don't walk a mile for someone who won't walk across the street for you, but walk 10,000 miles through a hurricane for 1 minute with someone you love. And that love is what brought me to take care of my dad every week.
I was really moved by what you wrote about those long sojourns in that car ride. How powerful were those long hours in that car?
All along the 10, there are these deserted buildings and towns, once vibrant. Now they're shells, and it reminded me of my dad. My dad was at 195 pounds of muscle, and now when he got sick, he wasn't, because it was time to thank. Thanks, Dad. Thanks for being a great dad. Thanks for being there when I was a jerk. Thanks for being there when I was an adolescent and I didn't listen. Thanks for understanding me. Thanks for molding me. Thanks for unfolding me, for making me who I am. Thank you, Dad.
You said your dad always put family first, that he always made other people shine, that was part of his grace.
Yeah. My dad always wanted everyone else to shine. He needed to be the foundation we all stood on. He was pretty great that way. He never missed anything for us kids. Never. Never missed a moment. My dad's favorite thing was to come home, take his jacket off, and open his arms and the kids jump into it, and his wife. My dad was very, very, very family-oriented.
You told the greatest story in the book about you were promoting a movie, and you had to go on the David Letterman show to promote it, and you got a death threat, and so he went and got literally a bulletproof vest from the NYPD, and then accompanied you to the David Letterman show. Nothing happened.
So it was actually a pretty smooth shoot for me.
That's a great story.
But what did that mean to you, that he was there for you?
My dad was like having a giant bear with you. Nothing could happen to you, nothing. And I did get a death threat.
Why?
I don't know. You know, frankly, there are people who don't like me. So hard to believe, but there are. My dad would say, I'll be right here. Yeah, it was like sleeping with a big bear in the house.
Yeah. When he got his kidney disease, that was not the first challenge he had with health.
Yeah. My dad, one time he had open heart surgery. He was in ICU. It was only one person at a time could visit him, and I was really upset. And I was holding his hand, and he had a tube down his throat so he couldn't talk. He took out 2 fingers, which means, don't worry, everything will be all right.
He always said that too.
Everything will be all right. Don't worry, everything will be all right. It'll all work out. And I went, oh my God, talk about strong. You know, my dad's got a tube down his throat. He just had open heart surgery, and he's saying, everything will be okay.
He was worried about you.
Yeah, he really worried. And he still worries, you know. Even though he passed, I feel him all the time. I found his sign is a white feather. A white feather all the time. The first day after he passed, That morning, I only slept an hour maybe, but I woke up and I opened the front door, and right on the mat in my sister's house, in the middle of the mat, was a white feather.
Wow.
My dad's sign was white feathers, and this morning I found a white feather.
This morning?
This morning, yeah, a white feather. I went, thanks, Dad.
You believe in those kinds of signs.
The dead are around. They're around.
They live, yeah.
Oh, sure.
For your dad's 89th birthday, everybody came. You write about it. You had the singing telegram of Earth Angel, which was your father's favorite song. And you write that this was one of the greatest days of his life, that his greatest accomplishment, he felt, was his family.
Yeah, and that's what he wanted just from his family, love. For Father's Day or birthdays, he didn't want presents. He just wanted love. Just love me. That is the value of life. That is it. You know, all this stuff, all my stuff, everybody's stuff, that's going away. But what you create in love stays forever. That energy stays forever. That's the real deal.
Well, that day, it all was encapsulated for him on that 89th birthday. And 8 months later, after that party, you got that call. It's time for him to go. You write about saying goodbye. You were there. Talk to us about those final moments.
Well, I didn't want him to go. My sister had the talk with him. My sister leaned over and said, Dad, it's okay. You can go. You can go. She got up and she walked out of the room, and I grabbed his hand and I said, you're not going anywhere. Dad, you're not going anywhere. You're staying here. Come back, Dad. You're gonna come back. And we had a nurse with us, and the nurse put the stethoscope on his chest and said, he's gone. I went, no, Dad, no. No, Dad, no, no, no. Dad, come back, come back. I just couldn't believe he was gone. Come back, Dad, come back. If you have parents that have passed, if you loved, it's very, very difficult to accept that they're gone.
You feel him with you every day?
Yeah, every day. He was so good to me. You miss that love.
We're going to go more into all that you learned and the bond that you shared with your dad when LA Stories comes right back. Welcome back to LA Stories. We're here with famous, iconic actor Steve Guttenberg, who is now a best-selling author as well. He wrote a beautiful book called Time to Thank about his beloved father and caregiving to him in his final days. One of the beautiful things about your book, The Gifts, is how you honor caregivers.
There's more than 53 million caregivers in our country. Between 53 million and 100 million caregivers. There are people taking care of kids, adults. I did write the book for caregivers because it's a lonely occupation.
You said moving forward, Steve, that you want to live a life well for your father. What does that mean? I'm
my father's son. I'm my mother's son. I've got to be doing every day something to make them proud of me.
And now you're doing things with kidney disease to make sure others, have access to dialysis and care. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, the American Kidney Fund, which is a great, great organization that creates opportunities for people who have renal failure. I think it's really important, if you can, donate some time to places where people need you. It really is a great thing to do.
Yes. Can I just tell you, so your Instagram is so uplifting. You just share such positivity in this crazy dark world we're living in.
Yeah.
One that just came to mind is, you got to use your gifts. Your gifts are unique. They're not like everybody else's. So whatever you have, don't shy away from it. Lean into it, as they say.
It's almost like your dad's speaking through you.
He is. He's always talking to me. And I have these little notions, and I put them on these Instagram, and I try to say to other people, maybe you think like I think. Maybe you're a little lonely. If you're a little lonely, join a community, a group, a club. If you're in a bad mood, try to get yourself out of it. Just because you feel lousy doesn't mean you have to act lousy. And my dad would always say, don't take things to heart. Don't take things seriously. It's all a game, Stephen. It's a game, the game of life. Just play it. Do the right thing. Be smart. Think before you talk. Things like that. But when someone turns you down, when something doesn't happen the way you want it, don't take it so deeply. It's okay. It's all going to work out. It's all going to be all right.
You know, you've had such a brilliant, iconic career. Now you're a best-selling author as well. But do you know how many millions of fans would love to see you back on TV and film?
Well, I love the craft of acting. I love the idea of conveying emotions and conveying information that will translate to somebody else and help them. Because what are we really here to do? Entertain and educate. That's our job.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, I was deeply moved by your book. Thank you for sharing your father with us, being so open about the bond that you shared with him, how hard it is to lose someone you love, the grace of caregiving. Thank you for sharing your story with us on LA Stories.
Thank you. Made me feel so good.
It has been an honor and our pleasure. Thank you for watching another edition of LA Stories. I'm Giselle Fernandez. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest information, balanced coverage, weather updates every 10 minutes, and more. We'll see you then.